Hi, it is Thursday, May the 7th, 2020, and our reading this day is from the Acts of the Apostles in the 4th chapter, beginning at the 32nd verse. Now the whole group of those who believed were of one heart and soul, and no one claimed private ownership of any possessions, but everything they owned was held in common. With great power, the apostles gave their testimony to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and great grace was upon them all. There was not a needy person among them, for as many as owned land or houses sold them and brought the proceeds of what was sold, and they laid it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to each as any had need. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. This is an amazing passage from Acts, one that describes what living was like in that first Christian community. It was certainly not a market-driven economy. People in that community were not in the business just for themselves. Personal profit, taking care of number one, was not the primary motivation. Taking care of each other was the priority. People in that first Christian community lived in community, where each person looked after their neighbor and where each person had what they needed. Truth be told, that first Christian community behaved in a way that reflects a quote from none other than Karl Marx, who wrote, "From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs." And in Luke's gospel, Jesus said, "Give to everyone who begs from you. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful." The following is from a devotion by Father Richard Rohr. I believe most Christians have good intentions to follow Jesus' example, but they are quickly overrun by the me-first norms of mainstream culture. In moments of crisis, however, we seem to tap into something deeper and truer. We remember our kinship with one another. In the first days of the pandemic, I heard media reports of hoarding and price gouging. But I have heard far more stories of generosity, courage, compassion, and sacrifice for the sake of others. We do not all have the same gifts, but many seem to be giving their very best. This ends the devotion by Father Rohr, to which I would add the following questions. What is our community? How would you define your community? How generous are people in your community toward one another, toward their neighbors? How willing are you to share what you have with those in need? Do you accept that we are all God's children, created in God's image? And if so, how do you give your very best for others, for your neighbors in your community? Amen.